What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Horror, this is Ethan Horror, and today we are back with Friday the 13th, which, if you guys know, I have done a ranking on Friday the 13th before, about 2 years ago. And if you want my full honest opinions on that video, it's garbage. So I'm going to do another one. Partially because my opinions were completely stupid, and also partially because I didn't know how to edit back then. So now I know how to edit and my opinions are less stupid. So we're going to go through and re-rank the 12 Friday the 13th movies. If you guys don't know, Friday the 13th is my favorite horror franchise of all time. Coming in dead last, number 12, this one has not changed a bit. It is still Jason X. And I could see how that would be entertaining for non-Friday the 13th fans, but for a Friday the 13th fan, it's an offensive movie because it's inferior to the rest of the other films. It takes place in space, about 1,000 years in the future, however long it is in the future. And not only that, but it takes away a lot of the magic of the Friday the 13th movies that we love so much. There is a couple of good kills, but overall the kills are pretty bland. The characters are some of the worst of the series. I would say there's only one movie that has a worse cast of characters than this one. The final girl is completely forgettable and boring. She is easily my least favorite final girl of the entire series. It's not funny. It tried so hard to have like that Alien Resurrection type humor, but it's just not funny. And it is super boring throughout most of the space scenes where they're just kind of saying basic space stuff that you see in all the sci-fi movies and doing basic space things that you see in all the sci-fi movies. And for Jason, I love Jason. He's my favorite horror villain ever. But my God, does he look awful. Not only Uber Jason, which I know some people think is cool because it's kind of like a Power Ranger, but I don't. And the other look, where he's like the normal Jason, looks completely stupid because at this point, Jason is no longer human. And they kind of added back in his hair and made him look a little bit more human. I think the mask looks weird. I just don't like how this Jason looks in either of his two variants in this movie. Like I said, there is some good. There's a few good kills, one being the liquid nitrogen. And I said it wasn't funny, but I laughed maybe twice. So there is some good, just not a lot of it. Coming in at number 11, this one also hasn't changed. It's Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Or, as I like to call it, Jason Takes a Boat. Because that's what he does. And for the first half of this movie, for the first, 45 minutes, where he's on the boat, just killing people on the boat, it's basic Friday the 13th slasher antics. It's just Jason walking around in a location, killing a bunch of random wacky characters. It just happens to be on a boat, which I get why people don't like, because when the movie is called Jason Takes Manhattan, you want him to take Manhattan, not a boat. But as far as just being a Friday the 13th movie, while it's on the boat, it's not that bad. I think it has some good kills. And then once we eventually do get to Manhattan, it's it's fun for like the first 10 minutes that they're in Manhattan, where Jason's just going around down the streets of Manhattan, terrorizing people. That's fun. But then you get into the ending, and the ending is up to this point, you have a very basic, just kind of bland Friday the 13th movie that happens to have a couple of good scenes in Manhattan. And then you get to the ending, and it completely falls apart, just crumbles through their fingers. The little bit of entertainment they had is stomped into the earth when you get this god-awful ending where Jason is fighting the characters in the sewers, and you learn that they're about to flush out the sewers with toxic waste, which I can forgive, I guess, even though that is not what they do in real life. And Jason takes off his mask. And just for the record, you come from possibly the best look of unmasked Jason in the entire franchise in part 7. Not a great movie, but the best unmasked look of Jason. He looks scary, he looks intimidating, he looks good. It's such a good makeup design. Then you go to this. I don't have words for how awful this picture is. The sole reason, not sole reason, there's many other reasons, but the biggest reason why this film is so low down on my list. It is a very basic Friday the 13th movie for the first half, and that is the most enjoyable half of the movie. There are some good kills once they get to Manhattan, but all of the stuff that takes place in Manhattan is the problem of the movie. Coming in at number 10, I have Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, which this was previously one spot higher. I think I had it at 9. And so my opinion hasn't changed on it that much. I still think it is the most bland Friday the 13th movie. There is nothing fun about this movie. It is just merely like, so you have the first 3 that are basically the same movie. I love them, but they're basically just the same movie 3 times in a row. Then you get 4, 5, and 6, which all do something unique, something different, and are honestly some of the most enjoyable films in the franchise. And then you just go right back to those first 3 movies, just deliver a very basic, prototypical slasher Jason movie. There is certainly positives. You get Jason looks great. Despite how dumb the telekinesis thing is, you get some good fight scenes between him and Tina. But also, you got all of these good characters in 6, and in 5, and in 4. And then you just wipe that clean, and you now have 0 good characters, because not only are the teen fodder characters just nothing, they have no personality. I genuinely don't even know if they had names, because they're so forgettable and boring. But the main characters, the mom, the doctor guy, and Tina, all also don't have any personality. Jason's look is the best part of the movie for me by far. The ending is a terrible, one of the worst endings in the series if Jason Takes Manhattan didn't exist, because you get this opening scene where she kills her dad on accident with her telekinesis, and it's never talked about again. It's basically just, you get that, and you're like, oh, that was weird, why did I have that? Just so that she can revive him in the last 3 seconds, and he can come up, wrap some chains around Jason's neck, and drag him into the ocean. It is the most anticlimactic ending ever, and it is just the most boring Friday the 13th movie. Coming in at number 9. This one swapped with Part 7 and is now up a spot higher. It was my previous number 10. And it's going to be Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. I just think that they should never put the word final in any slasher movie title, because it won't be the last. But this movie, as far as the Friday the 13th movie, it fails on every single level, except kills. It does have good kills, but otherwise, every other level that you expect from a Friday the 13th movie fails at. But with that being said, this is the one movie that I can get behind you having a really fun time with. Now, I am a Friday the 13th fan, so I still think that it's completely stupid that it exists in the Friday the 13th franchise, but I do have a little bit of fun with it. There was genuinely some moments where I actually laughed at this movie. The look of Jason, even though he's in it for like 5 seconds, he looks pretty cool. And as I said, it has great kills. One of the kills made it in my top 10 horror movie kills list. So it has some great kills, and it is a enjoyable movie. But then you get to the story. All of the lore that they introduced with the Necronomicon and the dagger, and him needing another Voorhees to stab him with it and go to hell. And he can possess people by becoming a slimy slug and crawling down their throats. All of that I hate, and I can't stand that it's in the Friday the 13th franchise, because it is canon technically, but to me, the canon Friday the 13th movies ended at Part 8, and you cannot convince me otherwise that this movie is canon, because it's kind of trying. I think the director even said he wanted to have a crossover with Evil Dead. I just don't think this is the franchise to do that with. And while Jason is possessing somebody, he talks. So that is automatically not gonna make me like it very much. When you have Jason talk, it's like having Michael talk. He doesn't talk, and he did in the remake, but I feel like that one's much easier to just ignore. But in this franchise, it happens in a canon movie, so Jason apparently can talk. He just chooses not to, and I hate that part that this movie introduced. Coming in at number 8 is going to be Friday the 13th Part 3D. And I did have this movie one spot higher in the previous ranking. It was number 7. And even when I got done watching this movie for the first time, the first thing I thought was, wow, it's a step down from the last two. It was less entertaining. It felt like the lesser of the original trilogy. I enjoyed part 2 so much that this movie kind of felt like a letdown when I got to it, because most people say that this one's like the most fun. It's the one where he gets his hockey mask. It's the best one. It's not. It's basically just the same thing as part 1 and part 2, and I know most of these movies are just the same thing, and I can admit that even as a Friday the 13th fan, but this one is just the exact same thing. People go to a cabin, Jason starts hunting them down one by one. The acting in this one is noticeably worse than the first two. The characters are actually pretty good. I think this one has one of the best casts of characters, and also some of the best kills. This has 3 very good kills that I remember every time I think of this movie. The standout for me being when he shoots Vera with the spear gun. That's my favorite kill in this movie. But as I said, this is also a movie where he gets his hockey mask from Shelley, who I hate. That character is so annoying and probably the worst part of this movie, honestly. But otherwise, it feels like they didn't learn from part 2. Because in part 1, it's very slow, drawn out, very boring for a lot of the movie. Then you get to part 7 and it's at a breakneck pace and it's super fast and everyone loved it. And then they just kind of go for a middle where it's paced fine, but it's still a little bit slow at some points, but it's also a little bit faster at some points. They just kind of put it right in the middle of the two. A lot of people love the final girl in this one, think she's one of the best of the series. I thought she was fine. She's a good final girl, but best of the series, no, not even close. The final fight is another very good part of the movie. I do love the final fight with the final girl and Jason in the barn. That's besides the spear gun kill, that might be my favorite part of the movie. And you get Jason unmasked in this one for, I think, the first. No, you get him in part 2. And he looks very good. This is what I think of Jason unmasked. I think of this. This is what I think of, is the Jason from this movie. Coming in at number 7. This movie I had previously at my number 4 spot. It's the original Friday the 13th. I have, I see what you guys are talking about. It's not as good as I thought it was back then. When I first watched it, I think I was just excited to finally watch Friday the 13th because I was watching it with rose-colored lenses. I was loving every second of it. But then when you rewatch it, this is the only film besides Freddy vs. Jason that I have seen more than 2 times. I've watched this one 3 different times, and it gets worse every time I watch it because it just gets more slow and more boring, because now I know what happens. I know what's going to happen. And now I'm just waiting for those things to happen, because I forget that in between the fun things happening that are the best parts of the movie, you get just long, drawn-out, boring scenes. So, like, I'm waiting, like, oh, when's Kevin Bacon gonna die? Oh, I need to wait for Alice to make coffee for 10 minutes. Then I can get to Kevin Bacon's death, which is great, and possibly the best part of the movie. And it kind of does that for, like, the entire movie, where it's like a character dies, big, slow scene. A character dies, big, slow scene. Character dies, big, slow scene. And this is the first one, so this really introduces you to the kills that this franchise is going to provide, and it has some great kills. I mean, I always love Kevin Bacon's death, and then the girl, his girlfriend, I forget her name. I've always loved those two kills, and those are my favorite of the movie. But there are also some not very good kills, such as Brenda and Steve Christie, who don't have the best deaths, but they're fine. And a lot of people complain about the characters of this first movie, which is fair. They are pretty bland, but I think that they're very likable characters, and I mean, you can tell pretty much all of their personalities, minus, like, I think Kevin Bacon and his girlfriend. They probably have the least personality of all of the characters, but I mean, it's an iconic movie. It is certainly not aged super well, but it's still a fun time, and I'm never upset about watching this movie. So coming in at number 6, I still don't like putting it this high, but I gotta be fair. This was my previous number 8. It's Friday the 13th, 2009. I don't know what it is. It is doing the exact same things pretty much, just at a faster pace with a bigger budget and a better, like, camera. But it just doesn't feel right. There's something about it that just, my Friday the 13th love is for that original stretch of movies. And this one just feels too polished, I think, is what my main complaint is that it feels too polished. I like my Friday the 13th movies a bit indie. They feel just, they feel like they were made for like $10,000 in just a random woods. And I like that about the original ones. And this one is a big budget, and it's not a bad movie. It's enjoyable. It's much better than the first one. So, there are some great kills. Jason is very scary. I don't care for either of the looks of Jason in this one, whether it's the bag or the hockey mask. I don't love how the hockey mask looks. It has some insufferable characters, such as mainly Trent. And a lot of people love the final girl fake out, where you think the main girl is going to be the final girl because, well, it's focused on her. And then she dies randomly in the third act, which I thought was just completely anticlimactic. And then the new final girl is the girl that has been locked up the entire movie. And I thought that was completely stupid. I don't know, that a lot of people love it for some reason. That part just never really stuck for me. The opening, the like 20-minute cold open, I think is genuinely better than the rest of the movie. It's like an hour and a half, and I would take that 20-minute cold open over the other half of the rest of the movie, just because it's such a good display of Friday the 13th. You get the violence, you get the great kills, you get Jason, and you get a sense of this new Jason, which he's not like the old Jason where he would just kind of walk around, just a big hulking guy who you just can't take down, so he just kills you easily. This Jason he's scrappy, he sets traps, he's still incredibly violent, and he tortures people more, so you know that it's going to be a different type of movie than you're used to for the Friday the 13th series. And my other big complaint, and I didn't think that this could ever be a problem, but there is too much nudity in this movie.
It's not possible.
Coming in at number 5, it is the same movie I had in my original ranking. It is going to be A New Beginning, Friday the 13th Part 5, the Roy Burns chapter. This movie, I can completely understand you not liking it, you thinking it is garbage, it's trash, whatever. I can understand that. But for me, this is the maybe possibly most fun any Friday the 13th movie has ever felt. And which is weird because the director cared the littlest about this out of any of the directors in this series. Which is why this movie is so fun, because he didn't really direct. He just kind of let the actors do whatever they wanted. And so all of these funny side characters that you see are basically just actors being like, I guess this is what we're doing, and just doing random things, whatever they think fits the movie. And you get all of these wacky side characters that are, again, the best part of the movie. Like, you get Reggie and Reggie's brother, Demon. He's only in like 2 scenes, and he's amazing. I love him. You get the Ethel, the one with the curly hair. She is hilarious in her like 4 scenes. She's funny every time she's on screen. There are so many, just like, the main kids are very boring characters, but the side characters are the funny parts of this movie and the endearing parts of this movie. And there's also some very good kills in this movie, such as the tree with the belt. That's the one I always think of when he gets his head crushed. That's a great kill. The big complaints, Tommy. I don't like that he is mute in this one, especially because he's such a great character in part 4 and in part 6, and he's just not really a character in part 5. It's kind of focused around him, but he's just kind of there. The final girl is bland, I'll give you that, and the Roy Burns twist is stupid. I admit the Roy Burns twist is dumb. And I think they should have put in a couple more scenes with Roy that would at least like foreshadow that that kid was his son. But they don't, and you just get that last reveal of him on the tractor spikes, and it's stupid. It's stupid. I fully understand and admit that it's stupid. But and again, I am the biggest Friday the 13th supporter. I love Jason. He's my favorite slasher villain ever. But if you cut out that little part at the end where he falls back and his mask rips open and reveals his face, no one would know it wasn't Jason. It's still just a guy walking around killing people. I mean, sure, his mask looks a little different, but like it's basically the same thing. That it just doesn't bother me. Coming in at number 4, we have my previous number 6, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. And if we're talking about the most well-made of the original 10 Friday the 13th movies, this one clears all of them by a country mile. It looks so much better than all of the other Friday the 13th movies. It's insane. Except for Freddy vs. Jason and Friday the 13th, the remake, because they were actually produced by like big companies, so they actually look good. This one looks good because they put in so much care and effort into this movie that it is clear from like the moment this movie starts that it's going to be a better movie than the other ones. And part of the reason is because you get Tommy back. He's no longer mute, and he is a great character in this one. You pair him up with a great final girl as well in Megan, which I love. The kills for this movie aren't very good. So I honestly, as far as like the two things you picture when you think of Friday the 13th, nudity and kills, and this movie has neither. I mean, it doesn't have good kills. It has some, but it doesn't have very many good kills, and it has no nudity. So it kind of fails at being a Friday the 13th movie at that, but it's still such a great time. It's such a great movie that even though it doesn't have those two staples of Friday the 13th, people still love it because it's so fun, and Tommy's great, and Jason's at his best here pretty much. Besides maybe in part 4, and you get the start of zombie Jason because he gets revived in a pretty cool way. It's one of the funniest Friday the 13th. It might be the funniest. I laughed pretty hard at part 5 though. So part 5 and 6, like they're fine for the funniest Friday the 13th movie. And as far as final battles go, final showdowns against Jason, this movie might have the best one of the series with that boat scene with Tommy. I genuinely think this is possibly the most well-made Friday the 13th movie, and it is my number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have Friday the 13th Part 2. And I went back and forth with which I wanted here, Part 6 or Part 2. And for the longest time, I have considered Friday the 13th Part 2 my third favorite Friday the 13th movie. Like, my number 1 and 2 are untouchable, but Friday the 13th 3 was up there for a while, and it's slowly drifting down that, like, it could switch with Part 6 soon. I think Friday the 13th Part 2 is great. It is the first movie. It is all the best parts of the first movie without all that excess boring stuff. It is just the kills. It is just Jason. You get the introduction of Jason in this one. And it's just the best version of part 1. So, I mean, it's basically the same story. You get better characters in this one, way better characters. You get Mark and Vicky, I think is her name, who I always remember as being a super cute couple. You get the best final girl of the series in Ginny, and you get I can't think of his name. The final guy is also very good in this movie, and so the characters are great. That's already one step above the original, because the original didn't have great characters. This one does. The original was super slow and boring. This one cuts out everything that isn't absolutely necessary to the story or kills, and it is very fast, very breakneck pace. It's, again, I I will be the first person to admit the first three Friday the 13th movies are the exact same thing, pretty much. But this is the best version because it has some of the best kills, some of the best characters, and the best pacing by far. Coming in at number 2, this is also the same as my original ranking. We have Friday the 13th, the final chapter. If the franchise had ended here, that would be completely fine. That would be a completely acceptable way to end the franchise, because it it really does feel like the finale. They go big, or they go home, and they went big. They went big with the gore, big with the kills. This is easily the movie with the best kills in the entire franchise. You get the head crushing, which is great. You get Jason's death, which is great. You get the corkscrew kill, which, as I'm going to say it again, is great. I think this is easily the best gore, the best kills of the series, and it's not close, really. This is such... The effects are on such another level for this movie. It's great. Jason, he looks great. He's very intimidating in this one. This is my favorite version of Jason. The Jarvises are great with Trish and Tommy and their relationship, and the side characters are the best side characters of the series. When you get the main cast of teens, usually they are pretty boring, pretty bland characters, but they all feel like a genuine friend group this time around, like, because the way that they interact with each other, the way that they're acted, they feel genuine and real, and they're so fun. All of the side characters are so fun in this movie that it genuinely feels like the best parts of every Friday the 13th movie mashed into one. And if this had been the finale to the series, it would have ended on such a high note. Like, genuinely, when I think of the best, like, most well-rounded slasher movies ever, this is one of the ones that comes to mind every time. Coming in at number 1, it was never a question. Never a question. I've talked about this movie so many times on my channel. You guys are probably tired of it now, but we have Freddy versus Jason. Yes, my favorite Friday the 13th movie is Freddy vs. Jason. This is my third favorite horror movie of all time, the most influential movie to me in my life, personally, because this is the movie that made me a horror fan, and I've said it a million times. As Above, So Below was the first horror movie I ever watched, but this is the movie that made me a horror fan. I watched Freddy vs. Jason with my friend, and it's such a great story because he wanted to watch Nightmare on Elm Street, and I wanted to watch Friday the 13th. So I said, I think there's a way we can do both. We watched Freddy vs. Jason, and it was phenomenal. It is the most fun Friday the 13th movie by a landslide, because every scene where Freddy and Jason are facing off are phenomenal. They are so great, so fun, and you get a decent amount of Freddy and Jason fighting. Like, they know what you came for. You came to see Freddy versus Jason, so they show you Freddy versus Jason. They do get a little bit caught up in the backstories of some of the characters at some points, but for the most part, they're delivering Freddy versus Jason. And then you get that final fight that goes on for like 20 minutes. It's so good. It's so fun. It's so gory. It has a super fun cast. It has some funny moments. It has some great kills. It has the bed kill, Trey. One of my favorite kills of all time. My favorite moment in horror history. If you saw that top, my favorite, I think it was like 15 favorite horror movie moments. That was my favorite. You get Jason, who looks great. You get the perfect mix of Freddy, kind of back to that Dream Warriors Freddy, where he's funny and scary. I keep forgetting to film outros for my videos, so that's going to be it for today's video. Remember, if you did enjoy, make sure to hit like and subscribe, so I know you want to see more videos like it in the future. Otherwise, you can comment down below some more video ideas for me, or your own ranking of all 12 Friday the 13th movies, or maybe just your opinions on a couple of them. But until next time, you can click the bell to be notified when I post any brand new videos, and I'm Ethan Horror. This has been Ethan Horror. See ya.